Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where we feature amazing CEOs, founders, leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. So this isn't just like, hey, we're all out for the almighty dollar. These are people that are really moving the needle on things that are good for the world. And I got my co-host with me, Arnell. Arnell, what's up?
Hey, Duncan, and thanks everyone for tuning in to this latest episode of the Firebelly Social Show. We have a great show lined up for you today, talking with Sierra, founder of beverage brand Pink Cloud Beverages. This episode is brought to you by Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help mission-based food and beverage brands bring people closer through social media marketing. So if you're ready to use social media to create more community and excitement around your food and beverage brand, go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more.
So with no further ado, let's welcome, I'm going to say visionary, Sierra Thomas from Pink Cloud Beverages. Sierra, we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Duncan, and thank you, Arnell. Visionary. Oh, man, I have a lot of big shoes to fill this podcast, but I'll try.
Yeah, no, we're so excited. I mean, you are let's say, a recovering music and media professional, and are sober and alcohol-free for 13 years.
Yeah, 2010, January 6th, so crazy amount of time.
But tell us the story, like what happened, what was going on?
Yeah, so I think for me, like, I have to kind of step back and look back at the old Sierra. I had an alter ego. I called her Serena. That's another podcast. But for me, I look back and I quit drinking in 2010. So like in my late 20s, a feat of its own. And really when my career was quite frankly taking off in the music and advertising industry. And so being in your late 20s, entertaining clients, doing larger pitches, going out with record labels, going to sporting events, concerts, you can imagine you're constantly bombarded. And at that time, the kind of sober, curious movement that's here today wasn't really a talking point then. So I had a lot of challenges, not that anyone who even quit now or thought about, taking a night off or becoming sober curious wouldn't have those challenges. But they were real. Like I was joking around earlier with Duncan, and now I'm going to date myself. But if you ever watched Mad Men, it was like that times 10. So quit drinking in 2010 in an industry that was really thrived and built itself around drinking and around celebratory moments. So that was challenging for me. And at that point, going to like music venues or concerts or entertaining, there weren't options. It was a really sugary mocktail packed with like so many calories that I was better off having an alcoholic beverage. Or it was like, a tonic with a wedge of lime. And of course, the bartenders always served it in a pint glass, so people knew it wasn't alcoholic. So it led to a lot of questions. Why are you not drinking? Are you pregnant? And at that point, I wasn't quite comfortable in my skin, and I didn't know if I was going to be sober the rest of my life, what that looked like. I just knew that I had hit a point where I didn't like the person I was turning into, quite frankly. I would wake up, I would be so hungover, but functioning. So like people would be like, why are you quitting drinking? Like, you seem fine, like you were great last night. Whereas behind the scenes, I'm looking at my phone trying to figure out what conversations I was having, like offline. Half the time I had erased those. So, but for me, it just got to a point where I was tired of living that life. I wasn't present. There was things that had happened, both personally and professionally, that I would have loved to celebrate and been more a part of. And also like deaths and mourning that, I didn't really feel like I was there in the moment, and a lot of regret. So for me, when I quit drinking, there was a challenge. There wasn't anything out on the market at that point. It wasn't cool or trendy to quit drinking. And so I really just started, old school style, mixing, curating mocktails at home. There weren't like NA spirits at that time even. Farm bill passed when, CBD became on the market and other cannabinoids. And I graduated drug-free class of 2000. So like, if you remember the Dare shirts, like that was ingrained into my head. So imagine being early on in sobriety, your best friend calling you from North Shore, Hawaii saying, have you tried CBD? I think it would help with your anxiety. And I just laughed at her. Sloan, her name. And I was like, Sloan, what are you talking about? Like, I can't do that with my recovery. And so just through a lot of like lack of knowledge and like education on my part to really understand cannabinoids and the difference between CBD versus THC, it took a lot of time for me to get comfortable with that. And I mean, I'm so grateful that I did, because when I started taking tinctures and, titrating different levels, I just felt better. I kind of thought it was placebo. I'm not going to lie, in the beginning. I was like, whatever. If it's placebo, cool. I'm going to take advantage of it. But when my boyfriend at the time said, man, things are like rolling off your back that would have like set you on fire earlier, and people in like my network and community started noticing, I was like, all right, this is legit. So that's kind of like the background of where I was. And I can share more about like starting Pink Cloud Beverages if you like to.
Pink Cloud Beverages, if you're listening and you want to check it out immediately, like refreshing beverages. And Arnell, I know you got a question.
Yeah, so I think it's super interesting you talk about the CBD aspect, including that into your beverages. You did talk a little bit about the benefits of, stress and anxiety, which I know is a big one. But what are some of the other benefits that people get from the CBD? And I don't want to say why did you include it in there? And
can't.
Why, but yeah, tell us a little bit more about the CBD. Why was that the choice?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. So I should probably start off by, I really like educating people in the space. And so online at pinkcloudbeverages.com, we have a FAQ section where you can learn more about the differences of cannabinoids. You can also see our testing, because I test all of our products and do third-party lab work, because not all CBD is created equally. And also I point you out into other directions to do research on your end, because that was very big for me. So to answer, Ernell, what you were asking, like why CBD, why did I include it? What are the benefits? You can't make medical claims, unfortunately, but I will say in my experience, people ask me all the time when I'm out at events or doing demos, like, why CBD? How do you feel? What's it like? And I say it's about what you don't feel. And let me kind of explain that. So for me, I chose to put CBD in beverages, and we'll get into the different types of CBD and why I chose the partner I did and the type of cannabinoid I did. But for me, I was having, like I said earlier, music industry, ad industry, like anxiety through the roof. Like I was known as a girl that knew all the restaurants in town, what the best vineyards were, what to order, what were trendy cocktails. So for shedding that persona moving forward in my life of not drinking at that moment, it was really important to me to help relieve that anxiety, because that anxiety did not go away easily. And there's still moments that I have it, on larger events and crowds, or trigger flying and going on vacation, random. But so for me, it helped with anxiety. I wasn't feeling the anxiety as much. I wasn't the typical one who would wake up in the middle of the night. This drove my husband, Brian, boyfriend at the time, crazy. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking of all these ideas, and I'd literally have to turn on a light and write them down or put them in my cell phone, because otherwise I wouldn't go to sleep, because it just kept turning and turning. So I noticed that I was getting better sleep. So like the restless nights, I wasn't happening as frequently. So I wasn't having the anxiety as much. I wasn't having the restless sleeping nights. When I used to be good and work out, I'm from Oregon, so Hood Coast is big here. It's a big relay running from Mount Hood to the Oregon coast. I mean, talk about stress on your body. It would really help me in the recovery process. So whereas before I had all this like pain or inflammation, it really helped in that nature. And I would say primarily those are like a lot of the main reasons that people gravitate towards CBD or CBG, which is another cannabinoid. And also for me, the fact that it was non-addictive and non-intoxicating. Because, living a sober life, transitioning, like those were very important to me and still remain very important to me. And then CBD was always an important ingredient. I say it's not created equally, because it's not. And if you know this, I apologize, Duncan and Arnell, but for the audience, there's 3 different types. There's full spectrum, there's broad spectrum, and then there's isolate. So I kind of relay it back to like looking at milks in a way. You have whole milk, the fatty one, you have 2%, and you have non-fat. So whole fat milk is going to be like the full spectrum. You're getting like all the goodness in the plant, the terpenes and the flavonoids. There could be trace amounts of THC in it under the limit. Make sure they're testing. Then there's broad spectrum. Same as full spectrum, removes the THC. So you don't have to worry, even if it's small trace amounts. And then there's isolate. Isolate is where they remove everything from the plant except for CBD. Now, personally, I didn't go with isolate because I don't think it's as beneficial for me and didn't work and create that entourage effect within my system. I didn't use full spectrum because I'm in sobriety. So even a trace amount of THC, no matter how small it is, could be an issue for me or for someone who works in the government or works in a school or, has to worry, not that like it would show up, but there's a chance like with drug testing. So that was very important for me. Also, full spectrum is a little hempy in taste, depending, who you source it from. And that was the thing I didn't want. I didn't want my beverages to taste like hemp. I want it to be an ingredient, not a flavor or taste. So that's why I used it, because it helped me personally with those things. And it's not intoxicating. It's not addictive. And when people ask what you're going to feel, I say it's about what you don't feel and the things that help bring more enjoyment back to your life.
I love that you talk about enjoyment and then also moments and being more present for moments. I think that's a huge, huge benefit to sobriety in general. But also, like you said, I watched one of your videos talking about if you're sober curious. You don't have to be 100% sober.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about just being more present, it's a great opportunity. I would love to learn a little bit more because, CBD is just one aspect of Pink Cloud Beverages. And guys are also, sourcing clean ingredients. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the other ingredients that are everything else that makes it so special.
Yeah. And I love that because when we were talking earlier, I was like, I feel like it's a blessing and a curse, but I don't come from the CPG industry. I'm not a food scientist. So it's a lot of learning as I go. I'm very fortunate. Portland is like the OG state for craft brewers. So I have a lot of friends on the beer side that have been amazing to me throughout this journey. A lot of job shadowing, a lot of videos, a lot of classes. But I knew when I was creating this, I was creating it for myself, my problem. I didn't have a drink that was non-alcoholic, that tasted good, was inclusive. I didn't have one that was low calorie. I hate fake sugars. So you'll never see any of my products with erythritol or stevia. For many reasons, like I feel like the taste, but my body literally has a reaction to stevia. There's so many brands out there that I want to try and have beautiful marketing and flavor profiles, but like I won't just because of that one ingredient. So when I entered this, not having the background in the CPG side and really doing it based on like taste, what kind of feeling, how it made you evoke, those feelings was really important to me. To the point of my friends would go crazy because like you'd be mixing and trying all these formulations, sticky floors in my kitchen all year round. I mean, forget about it. A mop's pointless. But I would have friends over and I would literally have this kind of little sheet laid out and it was their sensory journey. And we went through some really shitty sensory journeys, but it was like, how's the mouthfeel? How's the taste? How's the aroma? Like I want to evoke all the senses because that's important to me. And so when I was building like and developing these recipes, not only did I want them to be clean label, I wanted them to help evoke all those senses that we have, which I'll get into, but also it was really important for clean ingredients. And so when I say the pros and cons, I'm not coming from the CPG industry. I've learned a lot as I go. Real fruit juices taste so much better and are amazing, which is why I use them. Purees, which sometimes you can't get juice form because of the costly of it, like pink guava, for example, you have a lot of production loss because us as Americans, and I'm generalizing, but we don't want to like have that differentiates of color or like sediment in our glass. And so to have it consistent, like you lose a lot of the product. And so that was not something that I was factoring in, but a concession that I'm not quite frankly ready to give up because the flavor and the real fruits shine through. So for me, going back to what you said on clean ingredients, always real fruit, never concentrates, like not even essence, like always real fruit juices, always. The other one is if it's like a tropical fruit that has like a lot of texture and viscosity and can't be in NFC form, I'm going to obviously do purees. And there's ways where you can, play around with whether using centrifuges or other larger equipment to help kind of get some of the sediment out. But quite frankly, like I want it to be like real fruit, and real fruit isn't perfect. So there is going to be some sediment here and there. So real fruit juices, purees, always a focus for me. Like I said, I'm not a big fake sweetener fan. With that being said, I want to keep my drinks at that 20 to 30 calories per can marker. And I tried in the beginning doing agave, which I really liked. Obviously, higher sugar, higher calories. I messed around with raw organic sugar. And based on once again, within my group and community, whether a friend that is diabetic or friends that were doing keto, it was really important for me to have a clean sweetener, not too much because I'm not a sweet fan, but that worked within the beverage. So I used monk fruit, and then which can be a little bit bitter, and then allulose, which is derived from figs, raisins, and maple, because it doesn't metabolize the same way. So that's where I went with the sweetener side of things. So clean sweetener, real fruit juices, no fake concentrates or any of that stuff. You have the functional ingredient of 30 milligrams of broad spectrum hemp, because remember I talked about earlier, don't want to mess with isolate, didn't want to mess with full spectrum. Broad spectrum to me was really the answer to my problems. And then the dosage is based off kind of my sweet spot and what I found. Everyone's body's different though. So you kind of have to titrate it on your own. And then I looked around, I'm like, what else do I need to solve for myself? I'm in Oregon. The sun back there, it's not always like that. Usually it's gray and rainy. So I'm loving this. We should be outside right now. But something that was important to me was from my time living in Hawaii, I craved that sun. I would use sunlight, I would get as much outdoor activity as possible, but I still wasn't getting enough. And so also incorporating the sunshine vitamin into it as well, because that's something that personally I was lacking when I would do my levels in check.
That's amazing. I think that I hadn't heard of allulose before.
Yeah.
Seen, of course, you see stevia everywhere.
Yeah.
And that, you depending on what it is, some people solve for the cooling taste, and some people don't solve for the cooling taste. And then monk fruit, we've come in contact with a lot more recently. Tell us more about allulose, and also the kind of second, I guess, going into question is I'd love to know more about the entourage effect.
Yeah. So I won't get too far into the weeds about it. There's a lot of research out there, but for me, allulose hit all the markers that I wanted to have. Clean label, derived from figs, raisins, and maple. It had more of a taste closer to a juicier type of sugar in my palate. Also, it was really huge just for my friends that were diabetic to have it not metabolize the same way as regular sugar. It also, because it'll change net carbs and all that stuff, it also helped blend well, because I would never use monk fruit on its own, just because it tends to be, in my opinion, and everyone's different with their palates, a little bit, sometimes bitter. And so like I said, the sweetener, it's not that much. It's a small amount. And I didn't want it to be overly powerful. So if you trying to relate it to outside of the functional beverage world, if you were to look at seltzer world and Polar, LaCroix, and Spindrift, three pretty well-known ones, I would say we're the functional beverage equivalent to a Spindrift. So, real fruit juices, lightly carbonated, not super sweet. When we start developing and launching our other side with 2 new brands that are coming out later this year, then you'll notice some additional changes. Those 2 will always stay true, but we might have a little bit higher of a calorie and sugar level and utilize maybe some honey locally sourced, because we have really amazing people here in our Oregon market. I don't know if that answered your question. And then Ross, was it?
No, it really did. I mean, I think it brought it together.
Okay, good. And if not, like I said, pinkcloudbeverages.com, FAQ all day long. You can search the site, or, there's always Siri.
I think what's interesting that you do really well, I'll say candidly, I haven't really investigated other beverage companies that are doing what you do, if there even are any. But it seems like you're really leading with education, and education is like a key part of it, I guess.
Huge. And thank you for noticing that. That means a lot because I feel like I always could be doing more. I had these lofty goals to have, a monthly podcast newsletter, kind of just like Q&A, going over all the different elements of it. And the reason why education is so important to me in particular is because I wasted so much of my time waiting to even take CBD and even take it in a tincture, because my personal journey in sobriety and, thinking that there was going to be THC in it, that it'd be addictive, ignorance that comes from the cannabis plant. So for me, it's really like a mission, not only to create these amazing inclusive beverages and give back to the environment, but also educate people knowing more about the cannabinoids that are out there. There's so many great ones. There's CBN, there's CBG, there's CBD, there's hundreds of them. And they all have these like little niches, if you will, where they can help. Like CBN's really good for sleep. So for me, it's like, if I can help point people in the right direction and save them time so they can understand it, one, I've won. Two, I also want to make sure this is an industry still that is, I hate to say it, very gray and like hard to navigate, which I'm a rule follower, so that kills me to a fault. And so for me, it's really important to bring awareness that not all CBD is equal. I spend thousands of dollars to do lab works in addition to what my vendors that I source my materials from give me. So not only are they giving me their COAs and lab work, then I'm running it after I produce it. And I'm running it for metals, for pesticides, for dosages, for cannabinoids, making sure that there's, not THC, making sure that there's not Delta-9. So those elements are really key because not everyone does it. And I would hate for one person to have a bad experience and then never have what they could have experienced because they chose the wrong brand or because they chose someone who wasn't transparent. So education, Duncan, like holy grail for me, like can't do it enough.
I think that's challenging in its own way, right? Because it has to be, I guess, relatable and palatable.
Yep.
And I guess anymore, education is a great, best served with entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be interesting and fun. And I think that's super challenging, because not only do you have to do all the other shit you do, but now you got to entertain the people too, and videos, and you got to do all this stuff. So, really hats off to you. I wanted to just say kind of a visceral reaction I had is that the packaging is kind of stunning. All I could think of, like somehow y'all took all the stuff that you talk about and you bottled it, and that packaging kind of embodies it. It's like you got the tropical vibes, you got the fruitiness, but it's also sort of like, I don't know, help me here. It's like it's
elevated.
It's tropical. One of the things I was going to mention is that, you talk about your experience living in Hawaii, and obviously that played a big part into the tropical flavors and also the tropical marketing.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that and what's the mission, around it. And I know you have a big mission around beaches, and so I'll let you go into that.
This is the stuff I love, besides drinking it, obviously. My background is from like the marketing and branding side. So like, thank you for those compliments. Means the world. Definitely a team approach. A very dear friend of mine and colleague, still a friend after doing all the design work, which is huge. Joel and his partner, Ro, amazing agency. Joel's on the East Coast now, Ro's on the West Coast. But Joel knew me in the Serena days back when I was drinking. He knew me in the early sobriety days, and he knows me now. And he's gone through a very similar situation in his life, so I'm really stoked for him. And he just knows me. And Ro brought just this new creative energy and different outlook to the whole entire project. And so it was really a collective approach. When I say months, that's downplaying it. It took an extremely long time to get to where we are today. And I'm going to, like, for people who haven't seen them, this is the Liliquoy lounge chair, if you can see it. lilac guava, and then I'll show you the other one, the pining for paradise, and then I'll explain kind of loud crashes. This is the pining for paradise, so pineapple, yuzu, and lime. But I feel like Pink Cloud Beverages is an extension of me. It's truly like a part of me and who I am. Like, I love when people that I know say, God, like, it's you in a can. I'm like, to me, that's the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. But I mean, we started off where I was going to like these select stores in the Northwest, a lot of bottle shops, a lot of breweries. And you go in and it's like an art gallery. You're looking at all these cans and like different things and like what attracts you? What do you like go towards? And, you know, I had this vision in my head of this like graphic art describing like elation, euphoria, transporting you to a tropical state of mind. And the more we started working on it, and I have like one of these days offline, I'll show you like a pile this big of paper of all the different renditions. I mean, even slight ones to large ones to get to where we got. But my goal was I wanted to evoke those moments of elation and euphoria that I felt in early sobriety, that I felt living in Hawaii on the beach, that I felt paddleboarding with these epic like sunsets, and then the freshness of the fruits. So like those things were what I wanted to transport people away to when they look at it with that sense. So seeing it visually, when they crack it open, the smells from the real fruits. So they're smelling it. And then the taste, like what it makes them feel. Because it's like listening to your favorite song. Like you hear it on the radio and it brings you back to that moment. I had one of these cans to bring me back to Lani Kai paddleboarding with my best friend Sloan. So like that's where I was trying to transport myself to, where my husband and daughter now. But so we worked for a long time. I should take a step back. There's a couple layers to the brand and it'll always evolve and change. Pink Cloud is a term in early sobriety. I don't share that often, but I'm going to share with you guys. And it's really when your body is kind of detoxed from all the elements within it. And you feel these just great emotions of like elation, euphoria, kind of like you're on top of the world. I can remember a perfect scenario of that, of me driving to a meeting over one of the Southwest Hills in Portland, Oregon, early in the morning, sun rising, probably had Bob Marley on blasting or some Hawaiian reggae, and just feeling on top of the world, feeling present and feeling just good, like everything through pink colored glasses, if you will. And so Pink Cloud Beverages has kind of two layers. It's that hidden language to us in sobriety. If you know, you know, but I've never broadcast it because of anonymity. This is kind of like outside of my comfort level you've been sharing with you guys. And then also to the more of the masses is like, you don't have to be sober. You can be sober curious. You can want a night off. Everyone loves and craves having that balance. Where do we get that balance? Vacation. What makes us feel the best is when we have a moment to recharge. And those moments are usually when you're checking out and you're not by your devices and you're in this great location and in nature. And so Pink Cloud refers to these just epic sunrises, sunsets that I experienced not only when I was living in Hawaii, but just traveling growing up and like with a family now. And I'm really big into collaboration. Like that's a big thing for me. Anyone that like I work with, like it has to be good people, like have all the same kind of ethos as myself, but has to like really believe and see value in what I'm like trying to create. And so Joel and Ro were amazing. They got it. Like we spent hours, they brought it to life. I loved, side note, Andy Warhol. And so like even down like how I mean pop art, like all the things, like little details, just to like having it be transporting you. And then like another thing that was really helpful is, and I'm giving shout outs to all the peeps I love.
Oh, yeah. What's Joel and Rose company? Let's give them a shout out.
Yeah. All these wonders. Fast. All these wonders.
All awesome.
And they're wonderful. And it was the first time, to my knowledge, that they worked on like CPG packaging for a beverage. So it was cool for them too. And they're working on my next stuff. And then another amazing person, give her a shout out. Jess, this amazing Aussie, lives in Hawaii on Oahu, from Australia though. She is one of the most talented aerial photographers I've ever known. And aerial photography meaning drone. So she has a way of capturing just these moments of joy and adventure in Hawaii and like other tropical places too, from a perspective you would never see. So you'll see a lot of her images are on my website, a lot of times social media. Before I even canned my product, we spent a day on the island, doing different shots and stuff like that. But Adventures of Jess is her handle on Instagram, and she's just a very talented, extremely amazing person that I just have really enjoyed working with. So those are like my 3 peeps that have like really helped take what's in here and bringing it out to people, and lots and lots of changes along the way. So that was very long-winded. Sorry.
Oh, you're totally fine. I mean, we loved it. Oh, what I had Arnell's got an awesome question coming up, but real quick, so that you're talking about this. I mean, I really see the sunset. Yeah. Sunrises. I see it in the brand. And now that and those of you who can't see because you're listening, I mean, it is you. And not only that, but you pushed it. In my opinion, at least, I'm saying and asking. You pushed it one step further with the chiller. Like you can buy a chiller and you can buy a pocket towel. So it's like that you can have your own sort of like Pink Cloud world around you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a community. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I want to leave knowing that I've made some kind of impact and left this place a little bit better. And so it's not just about creating a beverage. It's about creating a lifestyle. It's about getting people outside their comfort zones. It's about giving a better for you option. And one of the ethos and things that's really important to me that you hit on with some of the merch is it's a lifestyle and very sustainability focused. And I'll tell you, like, the involvement of that, because it's been a crazy ride in that area. So my goal is like every year to launch and do a collaboration with one company that is very etho-minded and cares about some of the same issues that I have. So I've done 2 collaborations. One is with Near. They're based, I believe, up in Washington, so just up by 5 corridor. Amazing company, and we did some custom can coolers, and I should have brought one out here, but if you're not familiar, basically it's a 12-ounce sleek can cooler that you pop this can in, so when you're out paddleboarding, hiking, exploring, in Bend, wherever your adventures take you, it's keeping your beverage cold. Branded with our lifestyle, tropical state of mind, the colors, all that. The other one that I love, I believe it's 3 guys, some in Haleiwa, so North Shore, Hawaii, by where my friend Sloan lives, kind of like down the road from Pupukea. Also in California, Slow Tide. Cool company, cool guys, wanting to really bring like art to the forefront. So you'll notice a lot of their like surf ponchos, dry quick towels, hand towels, like very graphically rich, beautiful images. And they've done collaborations with like Wu-Tang, the Dodgers, June Shine, like you name it. They've done like a ton of collaborations. And so that was a really fun one because I got to really focus on Jess's drone photography that she's so talented at, have Ro and Joel kind of put a spin on it and put that on the towels, which ended up, in my opinion, I'm biased, but pretty amazing. And the cool thing about Slow Tide is these dry quick towels are recycled from water bottles. And so that has that sustainability aspect. They're lightweight, you can pack them. But my favorite part, I should say my husband's favorite, is they have a pocket on them. So when you're going to the beach, like you don't have to worry about your cell phone, keys, getting all sandy, getting lost. Like you just throw them in the pocket and zip it up. So it's all about things that enhance this lifestyle of being outdoors and getting to do the things that you love. I shared that like for me, my passion and what brings me like the most peace or my meditation, if you will, is through music, just because my background and being in it so long and as a kid. And then also being on the water. Like our family, we love paddle boarding together. We love kayaking together, like anything on a flat body of water. My husband's a little bit more extreme than I am, too out of shape now. But whether it's surfing, like that's a huge part of who we are in our family. And so these items just elevate that experience and make it that much better. And so that's kind of the tie-ins. I have one that I'm working on that I'm very excited about. I can't say the name yet, but 2 amazing girls with good stories. Also have that like Hawaiian vibe. One was a flight attendant, one was a surfer, and solving their problems, kind of like how I solved my problems. So that's on the docket for end of this year. So exciting stuff.
That is so exciting. Go ahead, Duncan.
Your enthusiasm is infectious for sure. We love it. You go ahead, Darnell. I know you got one brewing.
I was just where you was going into that. It's so inspirational because it's Pink Cloud Beverages seems to be so much more than just the beverage itself. It's really about lifestyle. It's about experience. It's about memories, which is so important. And you talked a little bit. You said that you got some things working for you, but what's next for Pink Cloud Beverage? Yeah, lots of stuff going. But
Yeah,
what's
always.
for you? Where do you see the brand going?
Yeah, so great questions. So a lot of stuff happening. So very close to launching 2 new premium non-alcoholic functional beverages. Still with the tropical vibe, still with the same things that are important on our label, different functional ingredients, so different benefits, but they're playoffs from my Serena lifestyle when I lived in Hawaii and I was still very active in my drinking. So some of my favorite cocktails back in the day, you'll see come to life and a better for you option. So very excited about those. Those hopefully will be dropping in the next couple of months. We're doing like a little test with some of the lifestyle markets and music series here, as well as some of our like family-owned grocery stores where we'll launch it. So that's something on the horizon I'm very excited about. Like I said, there's a collaboration coming up with some lifestyle gear, if you will, that I'm looking forward to. And then I would say in the next couple of years, the biggest focus for me, once again, solving my problems, I should think about everyone else's too, but helping get these beverages on every single like menu where you go. So like what I mean by that is like, I want to go out to amazing farm to table, which we have here out in the vineyards or like out at cellars. And we have a great chef here who's brought these on as an NA option. So I want more of that. Like I want you to be able to go to like, there's an amazing chef here, Gregory Gourdet, like nationally known. They call him Gigi, but he opened this beautiful Tahitian restaurant called Khan here. Like, I want to be able at his bar downstairs to have this as an option and add to their amazing curated NA lineup. And just working and helping provide those options. For me, the food scene is really big, so that's a big focus. Travel is really big, so you'll notice that we do a lot of partnerships, and a lot of the boutique hotels carry our product as an NA option. But a big thing that I'm really focusing on, and which is hard with CBD and compliance, hence the other brands coming to the forefront too, is really breaking through into the sporting and music industry, because that's where I spent over a decade of my life. And I know how hard it was. And, you know, if I can help someone else that's going through a similar situation, I want to do it. So that's like, I kind of get goosebumps or chicken skin, if you will, still. But that's like really, chicken skin. I knew I could come up in this. but I that's really important. Like I want that to get out there. And then obviously, like, you know, really own this marketplace and continue to grow and make solid partnerships with some of the NA bottle shops. And there's some great brands that are doing great things with music festivals. So really get incorporated into that space.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think that I love what you're saying selfishly about the NA options in general. I mean, I know zero proof NA, whatever the genre may be, but it's like, this is such a neglected revenue stream at high-end restaurants. It's like, hey man, I'd pay $15 for this drink, right?
Yeah.
All you got to do is put it in a nice glass and add like some basil to it or something.
Totally. Just give me a curated experience. Like, I'm bougie. Make me a beverage. I want to pay. Not with the hangover, though.
What's interesting to me, or should I say interesting to me, is that it's the margins are higher too, you know? And so, and the point, the opportunity for differentiation, but I'll say, and I don't give a fuck, is that a lot of the chefs that drive these restaurants are boozers. They're boozers.
Right.
They're boozers. And it doesn't matter if they're male or female. They're boozers. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's like they're boozers or they're high or whatever they're doing. And it's like, I appreciate you do your thing, but why are you denying me a 0 proof drink? Like,
well, I think you kind of like, it's interesting that you say that, Duncan. You got to come out to Portland. I'm biased, But what I feel is very special in this marketplace is there are so many amazingly talented chefs in sobriety, because you're right, like that is it's like the music industry. There's a lot of alcohols and a lot of drugs, and so there's these such talented chefs that now have become so open about their sobriety, and they're kind of like charging the weight here. So what brings me like so much happiness is like walking into a restaurant 3 years ago that would like, I don't know, have nothing against kombucha. I love kombucha, but like a kombucha or like a shrub on it or something to that nature. Like now they have these like really complex NA drinks, and it's like, I love it because like I want to enjoy and have that experience, and I want to feel a part of where I couldn't before. So I feel like it's kind of like this whole movement, like I hate calling the movement because I've been watching from the sidelines for years, but you see some of these like extremely talented chefs, and that's why I love partnering with them, because whether they're sober curious, whether in their sobriety or whether they're like drinkers, it doesn't matter. Like it opens up the playing field for them to just enhance their diner's experience. And so it's pretty amazing here. And I think I hope that you'll continue to see that transpire through other states. I feel like we're an OG here. We got some great like ambassadors, if you will, behind it. But on the note of the food scene, there's just like these amazing like groups, like there's nonprofits, Friends of Ben, and it's all about people in the hospitality food industry and recovery. And so there's so much awareness and light that's coming towards this, and, you know, breaking those stigmas, and it's okay. You don't have to have an off-shift drink. I mean, I came from the restaurant industry in high school, and like, what do you do when you get off? You have your off-shift drink. Hello. So, I mean, it's neat seeing that kind of change and shift. I mean, alcohol will always be there, but I think the way people are deciding what they put into their body and the better for you mindset is changing. And then there was one other thing, I get sidetracked, but something that I love too, another cool local company here in Portland, which I wish I was like, why didn't I think of that? Genius. These two ladies are launching this app at the end of in June called BuzzCut. Now, BuzzCut is an app where you can go on your phone and you can see restaurants, venues, wherever throughout the U.S. and what NA beverages they have, what like mocktails, and talk about what I could have used in my early sobriety when I was like, oh God, I have this event with a client. What the hell am I going to order? Like, do they have options? Like, I mean, to have that at your fingertips, so cool. So I feel like it's the tipping point. We're getting there. Give it a little bit more time.
I mean, I remember going in the late 90s. I was entertaining Japanese clients and people who can drink, right? And so I remember going to the bar ahead of time and tipping the bartender ahead of time to give me water shots when we were drinking tequila or your
Kindred spirits.
Like, hey, and they were like, Duncan did 13 shots last night. No, he didn't.
It feels great the next day. How is that?
So I think that I love where you're going with that. I mean, and you know, it's interesting. Like, I'm Indian. I grew up in India, and Indians love to drink, but lots of Indians do not like to drink. And instead of pineapple juice, it's like, hey, you know, here is something more sophisticated for your already sophisticated palate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like a big thing for me too. Like on these beverages, like, I mean, everyone's like, well, the combinations, like they're so like kind of, I was like, I want it to be complex. Like if you're going to like, you know, enjoy something, like you want to know that there's like such thought and intention behind them. So like for me, like one of the fun things with like, which I love doing the R&D, like I said, husband hates it, floor sticky all the time, but you know, all the juicing, all the things. But what I love is like just doing these complex, like curated, like kind of out there. So like for this one, the Pining for Paradise, like you have the juicy pineapple. Like people know pineapple. People love pineapple or they hate it, but they know it. But then you have yuzu, which like not so familiar. And yuzu is like this amazing Asian citrus that's super aromatic. It's like a mashup of like mandarin, lemon, and grapefruit. So the notes of it are just like awesome. And then you finish it with like the lime at the end. That's super familiar. So it's like you have this layered effect, but with something that's like, I kind of want to try it out. I don't know quite what it is. And then you have the familiarity. Same thing with the Lilikoi Lounge Chair. You have Lilikoi, which for those that don't know is passion fruit. It's grown in Hawaii. So it's yellow on the outside, not purple. Personally, I think it's a little bit more tart. And then you finish it with the pink guava to help kind of smooth it out. And then you have that body and full texture, if you will, from the guava. But I mean, it's all about going back to evoke those memories and those feelings and how you felt when you were, away and really like present. And I think like the first time that I had Lilakoi was one of my favorite moments. Like there's this amazing farm on North Shore, Hawaii, just down past Kupukea called Kahuku Farms. And they had this like crazy Lilakoi syrup, Lilakoi balsamic, like Lilakoi you could pick off and just eat. And I remember the first time I had this, I was like, holy shit, this is good. Like I was addicted, like I was hooked from then on. So it's like bringing these things that not everyone's probably tried to the forefront because they're really, really good.
Well, we're so happy to have had you here today. One more time, featuring Sierra Thomas today, visionary and sunsets and sunrises in a can. So she's doing it, everyone. And we're so happy you're here. We'd love to have you come back sometime. And pinkcloudbeverages.com. So happy to have you here. Any last thing you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I would just say like we're always open to feedback and love hearing from people about our products, what they think, good, bad, how to evolve it. So hit us up. We're at Pink Cloud Beverages on Instagram and Facebook. The more information, we're always open to listening. Or if there's a flavor drop you're excited about, let us know. But it's because of our fans are the early adapters of our product that we've been able to like grow and experience the growth we have. And I just would like to say to two people, won't say names, but we had a consumer last year reach out and she was like, hey, have you thought about moving towards digitally printed cans? Because first run, not knowing, I was using shrink sleeve. Well, no one tells you shrink sleeve, which I'm all about educating now. You have to remove the thin plastic layer to recycle the can. No one in the beverage industry talks about that. So we invested, spent more money, but for a valuable cause to go digitally printed. So digitally printed cans. And I wouldn't have known those impacts that earlier on in the game if it wasn't for that customer telling us. And so I appreciate when people challenge and share education. We're always open to listen. Love that. Especially getting some ideas on new flavors. It's been great too. So yeah, DM us, hit us up on the website. You know how to find us.
Amazing. Ardell, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. This episode is brought to you today by Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help mission-based food and beverage brands bring people closer through social media marketing. So if you're ready to use social media to create more community and excitement around your food and beverage brand, go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to another episode of Firebelly Social, where we interview inspiring and just crazy cool founders, leaders, and CEOs of mission-driven food and beverage brands. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.